How about now? My mic wasn't set up. There we go. Yeah, so, Jesus fucking Christ. There, and I got us demonetized in the first 5 minutes of the video, so that's good too. Alright, so the Sharks win a 4-0 game against the Seattle Kraken. Yeah, and this is what we're gonna fucking do. I don't know, this show's already fucking off the rails. Yeah, this is what happens when, you leave people unsupervised to do important things like make this appear like it's a professionally run operation. It's not. It's just a bunch of slapdicks with a YouTube channel. And I like to prove that any opportunity that I get. So yeah, let's talk about the game. Obviously, James Reimer, big shout out for James Reimer. Martin Jones still sucks. I'm glad I'm here to say that. That's amazing. I don't know what happened because honestly, I didn't remember hitting start stream on the YouTube control thing, but when I started sending, I don't know. It's fucked. It's fucked. Oh man, I wish I had a do-over here, but there is no do-overs in live YouTube, unfortunately. Yeah, let's talk about this game, and then we can figure out what you guys want to talk about, because it's just me. And again, obviously a fun game for the Sharks. I thought I thought they played well enough. Look, the Sharks came into this game obviously down a couple bodies. Timo Meier injured. Is he injured? I don't know, man. I trust nothing, absolutely nothing, when it comes to like players not being in the lineup for this time of year. Obviously the trade deadline, so Martin Jones delivering tacos. Yes, he is. This is amazing. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't trust anything, obviously. Hurdle being gone for personal reasons. Obviously, whatever is going on with Hurdle, I hope it's nothing too serious. Hopefully we get him back sooner than later. But I thought, you know what? Look, the Sharks came into this game, and I had pretty low expectations for this game. And you know what? I'm pleasantly surprised with how this game went. And not only that, but there was a couple of times where, like, at least on my stream, the Barracuda and Sharks were scoring goals at the same time. Also amazing. Yeah, again, like, I think it was, I think all things considered, the Sharks had all the reasons in the world to roll into this game and get rolled over, right? Seattle's a team that is trying to keep on their playoff spot, right? And I don't think I don't want to like make it sound like they're in danger of falling out of the playoffs, because I don't think that's the case. Like they've got 70 points. They are 2 points out of first in the Pacific, and they've got 5 points on. They've got 2 points on Edmonton, who is chasing them in the Pacific Division playoffs race, and and Calgary's a good 7 points behind them. So the Sharks had a lot of reasons to come in here and completely lay an egg at home, which they've done a lot this season. But again, so I felt really bad coming into this game. I felt bad for the people that not only had to watch this show, which has been a fucking disaster so far, but I thought like it was going to be a solo Ian show after a really bad Sharks game, and goddamn, how terrible would that have been? But so far, the show's a disaster, but the game was really good, and that is good. When the Sharks do good, it's good. I've always said this. Obviously, you look at the Sharks. Let me look at their league standings right now to see how this affects ye old race. So, obviously, the Sharks still comfortably sitting in that bottom 5. I think Arizona's picked up a few points of late. Vancouver is starting to concern me a little, because I think they might slide behind the Sharks, and that would be kind of annoying. Yeah. I don't know. It's Tony Couture in chat saying it's instant to look at the post Meier Sharks after Meier gets traded. We don't know if that's going to happen or not yet, but yeah, I look at like when they said that Hurdle and Meyer were going to be out for this game, like, I was not excited to do this. Like, I wasn't excited to watch the game. I wasn't excited to do this show because I'm like, oh my God, what are we going to talk about? But yeah, look at guys. I thought that the team played well, and Martin Jones is still Martin Jones, despite being told to the contrary, that he's good now. Anytime I've watched him, I've never came away with that impression. I think that sometimes goalies can do okay. What is Martin Jones's numbers? Let's pick on Martin Jones. It's my show. I can do whatever the fuck I want. Let's do this. Seattle. Give me some stats. Dead Air's the best YouTube ever. I apologize if you were listening to this on audio. I apologize. This is what happens. All right, what is Martin Jones's stats? Martin Jones. I mean, not terrible, but not great. I mean, I don't think the goaltending for Seattle's been particularly good this year, and the numbers kind of bear that out. Philip Grubauer's only got a .900 save percentage, and Martin Jones is an .892. So, but 3 shutouts on the season from Martin Jones. Seattle's an interesting team because I think they are definitely, like, I think a lot of people were sleeping on them when the season started. But I still think, like, I don't know. I don't know what this team's going to do in the playoffs because I just don't. I look at this goaltending where I don't know, man. I don't like it. If I'm a Kraken fan, I'm a little bit concerned. Although I think the Kraken are playing with house money at this point. They are one of those teams where, obviously, I think they've jumped in a little bit ahead of schedule, and I think they should just enjoy the hell out of it. Barracuda are up 6-1 now on a goal by Tristan Robbins. Nice to see Tristan Robbins get a goal. SG Sports Talk Channel, thoughts on Martin Kaut's debut versus the Kraken? I thought he played well. I like Martin Kaut. He's been, in the games that I've watched him play on the Barracuda, I think he's definitely been a nice add down there. I think him and Chris Scolo have kind of helped take the weight off of some guys in that forward group for the Barracuda, which I think was much needed. I've liked Martin Kaut so far. I don't know what Martin Kaut is as far as, like, what he's going to be as an NHLer. I know that in his games in Colorado, a lot of people said that he was more good on the defensive side of the puck, which, I mean, look at you need that too. I mean, is that what you want to use? I think he was a first round pick. I can't remember exactly where he was picked. I think he was picked a few picks before Merkley. So, I mean, is that what you want from a guy you've taken in the first round? Probably not. You probably want a little more offensive upside. But I think, at least in the HL, I've liked his game. I haven't seen enough of his NHL stuff, though, to really give, like, this is what I think he is. But I thought he handled himself well tonight. Got into the lineup. Obviously, they had already called him up because of the Timo Meier situation. And then, obviously, with Hurdle being out, they had to roll... They rolled Joey McDonald as a forward, so McDonald to forward is now a thing. I've really, I don't know. Like, I've really liked Martin Kaut so far. As far as the Barracuda go, I've liked him down there. I've liked a lot of the Barracuda additions so far. Again, I think Kyle Criscolo's been a much needed shot in the arm down there. Just a good veteran guy that they can count on to take a little bit of the weight off some of the younger guys. But, the younger guys are doing well too. The Eklund scored 2 goals to open the scoring for the Barracuda today. Definitely good stuff happening down there. On the topic of the Barracuda, I'm not even going to try messing with my anything right now because this show's been a disaster. The show, what am I saying? This is why it's good to have other people so you can bounce stuff off of when you lose your train of thought. The Barracuda currently, as we've said, they are winning. Yes, McDonald is the new Brent Burns. Ian confirmed it. It's true. I've called it now. McDonald to forward all the time. The Barracuda currently ahead 6-1 against the Abbotsford Canucks. They need all the points they can get right now. They currently are 4 points, behind the Bakersfield Condors, who have also been on kind of a run late. But they are, after today's game, the Barracuda will have a game in hand again, but the Condors do play tomorrow. So that playoff race is as tight as it gets. Again, the Barracuda hoping to pull within 2 points of the Condors. That'll be good. Yeah. How many wins do you think, how many wins do I think the San Jose Sharks will have by the end of the season? How many do they have now? These are the things that I should know before I come on, but whatever. Stats. What happened? No, standings. What am I doing? The Sharks currently have 18 wins. If I was gonna set, how many games do they have left? Too many. Once again, too many games left. 84 games, 20. I don't know. Math is not my strong subject. I would set the over/under at, I don't know. If I said 25, would you take the over or the under? That's what I want to know. I don't know. Help me out, chat. You guys are going to be the lifeblood of this show today, because otherwise, yeah. If I said 25 wins, who's taking the over on that? I don't know if I would. I don't know. I'm gonna get a drink here. Well, might go. You'll go over. I Thompson's going over. I like it. I mean, it's funny, right? Because I've said this so many times on the show, where I said, it's hard because, like, obviously, like, we know the score, we know where the Sharks are in the standings, and obviously the less points the better at this point in the season, because it's not like they're going to go on some magical run and win the Stanley Cup at this point. But it's hard because, like, during the games though, like, I can't help it. I still cheer for the team. I still, get excited when they do good things, even though, at when we have to do a draft show, which I'm hoping will be really quick this year. So we'll do it really first off the hop, and then we'll get offline. Yeah, again, so 24 games left, 22 wins. Yeah, there you go. I don't know. Here we go. Again, I apologize. This is more tricky than it seems going by yourself, because it's hard. You lose track of your thoughts. Yeah, a lot of people taking the under on that, and I think that's probably the safe bet, but you never know. Let me see what we got going on in the chat here. PJ48 asking, Ian, how did the Nashville Predators let Eli Tolvanen go? That's a good question. I wish I had a great answer for that. Sometimes players just see different things, right? Like, I think when sometimes teams evaluate players differently, like, obviously we're all big fans of Barabanov, and obviously the question is, well, how did Toronto let him go? And it depends on what's going on there. I was surprised that Nashville let him go, but again, sometimes teams evaluate players differently. Sometimes a change of scenery can also do a guy a world of good, right? Like, sometimes it's never going to come together in that situation. And I just, I wonder how much of it is that they dropped the ball, and how much of it is, just different line mates, different opportunities in a new place in Seattle. Yeah, I mean, look at Ricky in the chat, and I get this sentiment too, right? Like, and in the moment, like, overall, I understand the sentiment, right? Like, he's saying, like, I want a top draft pick and I dread watching them win. And then he goes on to say that Anaheim drafting ahead of us again is just absolutely unacceptable. And that's like, that is the real thing that would make me concerned as a Sharks fan, right? Is if Anaheim wins the draft lottery, you're going to have both in your division. You're going to have both Connor McDavid and Connor Bedard in your division. Like, that is nightmare fuel, especially, obviously the Ducks are kind of a mess, but like there's still pieces there that I really like, and I think they obviously they've been at this a little bit. They've been at this for a while too, scooping up the draft picks. But like, man, the idea of enter Sharks goalie here staring down Connor Bedard and Trevor Zegras is not something that I want to see happen. I don't think anyone who watches this team wants to see that happen. So I mean, I definitely get the sentiment, right, about like, oh man, they won, and now Anaheim's chances of scooping up a top pick are increasing. I completely get that sentiment. It's just during the game, it's hard though, man, because it's like I want to enjoy the games, right? And I think that obviously when your team does well, it enhances your enjoyment of the game. I can't watch a hockey game and be like, oh no, my team scored, this is the worst. Like, I will never be that guy. But I understand that sentiment is, from other fans. Like, I totally get that. It is what it is, right? So it is what it is. What do we got here? San Jose isn't going to PJ48. San Jose isn't going to come within Alberta mile of first or second this season. Reimer needed a win and a shutout after some brutal deflating losses. Yeah, man, I love James Reimer. I am a very unabashed James Reimer loving guy. And again, like, you want to see guys you like do well. Like, I'm happy that Kokkonen has found his game a little bit over this stretch, right? Like, you want little positive things to go forward. Obviously, James Reimer, again, like, is James Reimer going to be a guy who's going to be traded out of here within the next couple of weeks? And I don't know. I just don't know. And, so obviously you do want to see, and I just want to see James Reimer do well, man. Like, James Reimer's been around for a long time, and he's always a guy that I'm just always going to have a soft spot for, whether he's wearing teal or not. Yes, and don't forget Mason McTavish. Yeah, good call. That's good. And look at, and Choo-Choo Train, very important factor, right? Like, the Sharks could finish 5th and still win the lottery. It is a lottery. The Sharks could finish 5th, and 5th last, rather, not 5th overall, obviously, but they could finish, as the 5th team of the bottom 5, and they could still win the lottery. It doesn't necessarily mean all is lost. We've seen teams move up before. Obviously we don't want teams that are behind the Sharks to move up and shove them further down. That would be awful. But obviously it is still a lottery. What did I miss? I'm sorry. I'm trying to do this as best I can. SG Sports Channel saying he was at the Sharks versus Buffalo Sabres hockey game on the 18th of February, and Micro, yes, and the Sharks lost miserably by a score of 4-2 on home ice. Man, look at, and I understand, like, again, like, people spending their money want to be entertained. Like, I'm happy for the people that were probably, like, if I had tickets for this game, going to this game, I'd be like, oh man, do I really want to go through all the crap it is to get to the game today when the lineups got, so I'm glad that the people that went to this game got rewarded with actually a decent game, man, because I'm not gonna lie, if I had tickets for this one going into it, man, I might be like, and I don't think you're gonna have a lot of takers for your tickets if you don't want to use them, but I can't speak to that, obviously I'm not local, but just from things that I've read on Twitter, blah blah blah, you can definitely say that. So I mean, I'm happy for the people that ended up going to this game, that they got to see a show, because that's the way it should be. Felix in the chat, question for you, Ian. Even with Kokkonen having better games recently, do you see the Sharks moving on from him and relying more on the goalie pipeline, assuming Rhymes is trade bait? That's tough. I don't think that the Sharks' goal right now should be trying to rush a guy up, right? They seem like they are very happy with Eetu Makiniemi so far, although I do have questions about him in the shootout. Kokkonen still has 1 year left on his deal, and I don't think the Sharks are going to be particularly good. So I think if you trade Reimer, or you don't bring him back next year, and look, at the Sharks could always bring him back next year, although next year's going to have some serious logjam again if they decided to bring back a James Reimer. It's hard, right? Like, I would just ride out the Kokkonen contract and pair him with someone. But I don't know if they like Eetu Mäkiniemi enough to bring up him and pair him with Kaapo Kokkonen. I mean, they could move him. I don't think Kokkonen's going to have a lot of guys lining up to take him right now. His numbers haven't been very good this year. He's had a good run of late, but I don't think that's enough to warrant a lot of teams sniffing around there. And again, next year, you've got Ben Gaudreau coming up. You've got Magnus Corona, who should be turning pro as well. He's been nominated for the best goalie award in the NCAA. I don't know what it's called. Apologies. So he's a guy that's going to be turning pro next year, as he's a senior in college this year. So I'm curious to see what the Sharks do. They're going to have a lot of logjam of guys, right? You look at this year, Strauss-Mann is starting to get some more starts with the Barracuda, which I'm happy to finally see, but so he's going to be a guy who's going to be a factor in there. Someone's got to come up, but even then, again, what do they do with Aaron Dell? There's a lot of questions in the goal for the Sharks, and I think the goaltending for this team going forward is going to be one of the more fascinating aspects of this team. Jerry F., thank you so much for the super chat. I do appreciate that. Again, this is not my strong suit. I don't think doing shows myself is not my strong suit, and I do hope that I am entertaining you, and I hope that you are having fun with the show after a Sharks win, which depending on your kink, maybe you don't want to see. Looking for AJ in the chat. Looking forward to the Sharks rolling the same lineup on Thursday after the Sharks get their 6th win on home ice this season. Don't fix what isn't broken. Is Timo Meier still a Shark coming on Thursday? I don't know, man. We'll see. We will see. Cout and Gregor had a good game. Teacher Train. Yeah, I agree. I thought Cout had a good name. Obviously Noah Gregor hit the post there, and we were kind of upset to see that, but it was nice to see him get on the score sheet. I think he's had an interesting year, to say the least. Noah Gregor's another guy that I wonder if they're just going to let go after the season, though. As we look forward to all the Sharks off-season moves and all the ramifications. There we go. Martin Coates said noted NHL insider Tomas Hertl was the person who broke the news of his trade to San Jose to him. He called before either GM did. That's amazing. PJ48, I think the Sharks may need to move on from Reimer. Kokkonen needs some starts, and the Sharks need to get a little more of a prominent number one from Reimer. Look, I don't disagree, right? Like James Reimer, I've always looked at James Reimer as the stopgap guy. But if you're not comfortable throwing someone to the Wolves next season, if another season of James Reimer doesn't particularly offend me either. PJ48, what did Philly work on with Jones? What did Seattle work on with him? Didn't see pucks through traffic his last year in San Jose. He was paralyzed on a couple of long shots, not tonight. Look at Martin Jones. Again, as much as I like to beat up on Martin Jones, the fact that his staying power in the league is impressive, right? And look, Seattle went into the season with Martin Jones forced to be the guy, and again, like I brought up Martin Jones's numbers earlier. Like, there's nothing spectacular, but he backstopped the team to a lot of wins. And as much I think Martin Jones is a serviceable backup guy. I think he's a good 1B guy. Do I ever want him back in Teal? No. But as much as I like to beat up on Martin Jones, I give him a lot of credit for his ability to stick around the league and make decent money doing it too. Like, whoever, again, I said this on TTG this summer, but man, Martin Jones' agent needs to give me a call. I need an agent, desperately. And so if Martin Jones' agent wants to get me a call, then I would super appreciate that. There are abandoned dogs that have seen more love than Ian has shown Jones. That's also probably very true. Unfortunately, it is what it is, man. Martin Jones just he made me crazy when he was in Teal. And again, like, the reason that Martin Jones made me annoyed in Teal was because, like, this team was good at the end of the Martin Jones era, and obviously, look at the wheels were starting to fall off, but I think Martin Jones kind of killed them a little bit when, during the regular season. Obviously, look, in the playoffs, Martin Jones had some bangers in the playoffs, but he was the weak link on this team in its dying gasps of compatibility. That's my thoughts. Like, obviously, and Hot Wheels 84, GMs are hoping that they can get the Jones that led the Sharks to the finals. Like, that's what everyone's looking for, obviously, is the guy that will get you there. And again, like, I will be the first to admit Martin Jones had some banger of games in the playoffs. But I just feel like, again, I don't want to rehash old stuff, but I just feel like he was the weak link on dying gasps of what was a competitive Sharks team. So there you go. Anything else? Again, I don't know how much longer I want to do this, but if you guys have anything else you want to talk about, I mean, look at there's what is there to talk about at this point? I feel like we could just like rehash everything. It's like, ooh, what's the latest trade rumors? Well, it's the same shit that it's been. Timo Meier to, New Jersey or enter team here. Ricky, would I take a first for Barabanov if someone came for him along the lines of a Goodrow trade? Yeah, look, if you're gonna give me a first for Barbie, I'm taking that every day and twice on Sunday. I like Barbie a lot, but a first is a first, people. I think that a first would be an absolute coup for Barbie. So yeah, I wouldn't even hesitate to take that. And I like Barbie, but a first round pick's a first round pick. And I think if you gave us a first round pick for Barbie, you're overpaying. So I would take that every day. Oh, thank you. PJ48. Thanks for the show, Ian. $5 super chat. Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you. Ricky asking, do I think General Manager Mike Greer made a mistake signing so many factory guys in the offseason and pushing us right up to that contract limit? Yeah, I understood what he was doing, but I absolutely, I don't like the way that the Sharks look at the Sharks. It didn't get a great trade for Brent Burns, and then to put the icing on the cake, he signed guys that were just, like he just kind of used that cap space really quizzically. I understood what he was doing. He wanted to make it hard for the kids to get up here and do stuff, because I think last year some guys were kind of thrown to the wolves because they had no other option, right? I think a guy like Nick Milosh is a great example of that. A guy who was just thrown to the wolves, thrown way over his head into the deep end. for a show that, for a team that was kind of in shambles. And I understand the Sharks didn't want that to happen this year. But no, there's a lot of guys on this team, and a lot of guys that are getting, a lot of guys that have been called up now. Like if you trade Timo Meier and your first call up is CJ Cease again, like I am going to go ballistic on this show. Like that's just all there is to it. Cause I think at some point I understand the Barracuda are in a run for the playoffs, but at some point I think you have to reward some of these kids. William Eklund's been on an absolute tear. I think there's been one game in the past 20-ish where he's been without a point. Thomas Bordeleau's been great all season. William Eklund's really come on. I know a couple weeks ago when I was on the Pucknologists with AJ, when he was asking, what's the hero of the week, and William Eklund was mine. And I think it was frankly deserved. Like at some point, William Eklund and Thomas Bordeleau should be in Teal to end the season once things are, once guys get moved on from and there's holes to fill. I think that's when you start hopefully seeing some of those guys. What were his worst signings? I like Nico Sturm. Lindblom, yeah, look at Lindblom. I don't think Lindblom hasn't really worked out, right? I think Mike Greer kind of tried to do a little of the Doug Wilson reclamation magic, and I think in some cases it didn't really work out. I think Lindblom was a noble failure, I think. But obviously in hindsight, like that, not great, right? I think, like, again, I have liked guys individually. I just think that when you have guys like, you just have a lot of the same guy, or just a lot of guys that don't really do anything. So what you end up doing is pushing guys up further in the lineup than they should be. Like Nick Bonino's a guy who I think has just benefited from the chasm between the Tomas Hertl, Timo Meyers of the world and your Svechnikovs. You know what I mean? Like that's how I feel. Yeah. So Lindblom, I think it's a noble failure. I'm not going to get too upset about that. Yeah, like I don't know, man. I like people, right? Like as much as I like to come on here and get mad, like you want to see people do well, and I think Lindblom, again, like Lindblom's like a great story, and you wish that sometimes great stories would have a better ending than what we've had for Lindblom here. It's this year the Sharks, we knew what the Sharks were doing, so I'm curious to see. Like I want to see what Mike Greer does going forward. Because I understand what they're doing this year. What concerns me is are the moves he made last summer a sign of this year, or are they just a sign of what's to come? If they're a sign of what's to come, that concerns me greatly. But yeah, I don't know. Greer didn't really sign any needle movers in either direction. Yeah, so far, look, it's been the Mike Greer's general manager tenure so far has been very whelming. I'm not really super excited about anything he's done, but I'm not super angry either. I think in hindsight, would you like to get more for Brent Burns? Yeah, I think that is a miss, but I do like, they picked up Mäkiniemi in that trade, and I've been really happy with that pickup. But I think for how much cap the Sharks ate, you probably wanted more. Wow. Okay. Yeah. PJ48. My brother had Ewing sarcoma maybe 30 years ago. They gave him a 3 to 5% survival rate while he was treated at Stanford. Treatment has gotten better for it, but it's an amazing, it's an amazing story, man. And I that's scary, man. I don't envy anyone who has to go through that, whether it be for themselves, a loved one, or anything like that, right? Like, obviously, you want people to be healthy and happy. That's all I want. Ricky saying, look at the Magna trade. Like, again, I'm not jumping for joy for the Magna trade, but getting a fourth for Magna, was great. I was high on that move when it happened, and I'm still high on it. I think they sold way high on Magna. So yeah, I'm happy there for sure. We got a couple more questions in, and then I think I am going to put this to bed. We'll see if I can end the show better than I started it, because I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. I'm gonna play with YouTube Studio when I finish the show and figure out exactly what went wrong, because I don't know how I ended up being on the air. Terrible stuff. Yeah, we got a poll in the chat too. Best acquisition so far: Isimont, Svechnikov, and went away on me. Benning or McDonald? I'm curious to see. I am curious to see how that goes. Any more moves for the CUDA for the stretch before the stretch run? I would not be. Look, I think the Sharks are obviously going to have to take on players to make any deal work. So I wouldn't be surprised if they pick up like a guy who could help the CUDA on their stretch run going down to the playoffs. Again, Barracuda, only 2 points or 4 points behind Bakersfield, 2 points if they hold on to their lead. And that's been exciting. I've actually really enjoyed the Barracuda of late because of the stretch run. Like, obviously, the Pacific Division playoffs is a little funny because I think there's 10 teams in the Pacific and 7 get in, so it's not like making the playoffs is like a sign of super greatness, but it's nice to have something to cheer for, right? Am I worried about Ko or Weisblatt? No. Look, maybe Ko a little bit. Weisblatt not so much. Weisblatt I like. I think Weisblatt, it depends what your expectations are for Ozzy. I think Ozzy's a guy who's going to be just really annoying to play against and who could probably chip in some goals. I don't have big expectations for Ozzy Weisblatt in the NHL. I think he's going to be a sandpaper guy who can, give you a little bit of help on the offense. The Barracuda have a lot of that guy. They have that guy. They have so many of that guy. So I'm not too worried about Weisblatt. Look, the turning pro is super tricky, right? Like, going from playing junior hockey to pro, when you go from playing against kids as young as 16, 17 to playing against men, there's an adjustment there, and I think it's been something that a lot of guys they come in and they have to try and earn their way into the lineup. And again, like, Barracuda have a lot of guys that play the game that I think that Ozzy Weisblatt excels at. So I think it's tricky for I think it's tricky for him. But to answer the question, no, I'm not worried yet. Again, it's his first year of pro hockey. Again, like, some guys take a little bit to come on, and I think that in the off season we'll probably see moves for the Barracuda as well to make room for guys like Ozzy Weisblatt to further solidify themselves in the lineup. And no, I think it's too early for Weisblatt. Brendan Ko, on the other hand, I mean, he's had a little bit of pro hockey experience, obviously, during the lockout. But again, I always get, this is his first full season pro, so I always get a little nervous about writing guys off in their first pro season, right? But if you ask me who I'm more concerned with, I'm probably more concerned with Ko than Weisblatt at this point. Yeah. Would I resign Gadjevich? Yeah, I don't. Maybe. Depends on who else is like still on the team. I have to go through the thing and see like what other moves they make. I think Gadjevich is a perfectly serviceable bottom 6 player. I don't know. It depends on who's left. Maybe. I know that's the worst answer. Maybe. Yeah, but does Gadjevich make too much money? Yeah, sure does. Yeah, Andy, man, you know, in the chat here. Hi, Andy. Turning pro is tough. Turning ho heading into COVID game times is an entirely different level of challenge. And the guys that came through the draft in that time frame are on a different path than most. Truth. And that's the other thing too, right? Like we're gonna go back and look at this little span of history that we just lived through, and I think it's going to be fascinating to see how guys were affected by that, because, you know, again, like some of these guys got like a handful of pro games, some of these guys didn't play at all during that time. So yeah, I you know, again, I give all those guys a ton of credit for what they've played through. But I am going to lose my voice if we continue this. So I appreciate everyone being here. I apologize for this show being kind of a clusterfuck, but it's me. I don't think you would have it any other way. I appreciate for all of you guys, you know, helping me out in the chat and keeping me talking. We've minimized the dead air. Will I go back and listen to the show? Probably never. But you guys showed up. You guys are the real heroes here. Let's see if I can get this out of here properly. If you missed the show, you can always catch us on the YouTube channel. You can like, subscribe, hit the bell, hit us up on all the social media. If you are watching this after the fact and you want to tell me how terrible I am at running this shit when I do it, hit me up in the comments, man. I want to hear your hate. If you have exception to anything that I said this game, hit me up in the comments. Love it. But other than that, I do appreciate you guys all being here. And we will see you again after the next game. Hopefully not me by myself. That's it.